Let's face it, we've all been sold the same giant lie about money. We are told that if we just work a little harder, skip that daily $4 latte, and master the art of miserable deprivation, we will magically wake up wealthy. But honestly, who wants to live like that? The mainstream financial advice world loves to make you feel like you are bad with money simply because you haven't memorized the tax code or because you actually enjoy having a life today. They turn personal finance into this terrifying mountain-shaped monster of spreadsheets, confusing jargon, and deep existential dread. The common misconception is that you need an accounting degree, a massive inheritance, or a soul-crushing corporate job to achieve true financial freedom. We think wealth is a club reserved only for suit-wearing Wall Street guys or people who genuinely enjoy calculating compound interest in their free time. So we ignore our bank statements, procrastinate on our student loans, and hope that future us will somehow figure it out. But here is the surprising truth that changes absolutely everything. Getting your financial life together has almost nothing to do with restriction, math, or deprivation. It is entirely about strategy, mindset, and creating a system that works for you, not against you. Wealth isn't about how much you deny yourself. It's about how efficiently you maximize your surplus and turn your active income into passive cash flow. You don't need $1 million to start, and you definitely don't need to give up your sanity. This is the ultimate roadmap for the overworked professional, the ambitious 20-something, the aspiring entrepreneur, and anyone who feels completely overwhelmed by the concept of adulting. If you are tired of living paycheck to paycheck, terrified of looking at your credit score, or simply feeling left behind in the wealth-building game, this is your turning point. Over the next couple of hours, we are breaking down a simple, fluff-free, 7-step roadmap designed to completely revolutionize your bank account. You will discover how to track your cash without losing your mind, how to spot and plug the hidden leaks draining your wallet, and how to build a bomb-proof credit score from scratch. We are going to demystify the stock market, tackle debt using strategies that actually work, and show you exactly how to calculate your personal magic figure for true financial freedom. No boring lectures, no confusing formulas, just real, actionable, kick-ass strategies to take back control of your life. It is time to stop letting money control your happiness, your sleep, and your future. It's time to stop feeling guilty and start getting smart. Your journey from financial chaos to total confidence begins right here, right now. Ready to completely rethink everything you thought you knew about wealth? Let's get started. Chapter 1: Foundations and Mindset. Let's be completely honest with each other right out of the gate. Adulting is incredibly hard, but managing your personal finance does not have to feel like a recurring nightmare. For most of us, the mere mention of terms like budgeting, interest rates, or retirement planning is enough to trigger an immediate wave of nausea, anxiety, and the sudden urge to hide under the covers. We live in a society that expects us to magically know how to navigate complex economic systems the second we turn 18. Yet nobody actually sits us down to explain how the game is played. Instead, we are left to fumble around in the dark, making costly mistakes and feeling a deep sense of shame because we assume everyone else has it all figured out. But here is the life-changing secret you need to hear today. They don't. Most people are just winging it, pretending they understand their 401k plans, while silently panicking every time they open a bank statement. You are not uniquely bad with money. You have just been given a terrible, boring, and needlessly complicated rulebook. It is time to throw that old book out the window and start fresh. To change your financial reality, you have to first understand your unique relationship with money, which means confronting the psychological monster known as financial dread. Think about it. Why do we avoid checking our online bank accounts after a fun weekend out with friends? Why do we let unopened bills stack up on the kitchen counter like a tower of impending doom? It is because we have conditioned ourselves to view money through a lens of fear, scarcity, and judgment. We associate money with restriction, guilt, and a total lack of freedom. This emotional baggage usually stems from how we grew up. If your parents constantly argued about bills, you might subconsciously view money as a source of conflict and anxiety. If you grew up in an environment where money was always tight, you might carry an intense fear of scarcity that causes you to hoard cash or, conversely, blow it all the second you get it because you assume it will disappear anyway. Overcoming this financial dread requires a radical shift in your internal money mindset. You need to stop viewing money as a measure of your self-worth or a tool for self-punishment. Money is not inherently good, bad, cruel, or kind. It is completely neutral. Money is nothing more than a tool, a piece of paper, a metal coin, or a digital digit on a glowing screen that possesses exactly as much power over your peace of mind as you choose to give it. When you master your money, it ceases to be a source of stress and transforms into a vehicle for freedom, choices, and security. Imagine waking up on a Monday morning knowing that if you decided to quit your job on the spot, you would be completely fine for the next year. Imagine looking at your bank account and feeling a profound sense of calm instead of a racing heartbeat. That is what happens when you heal your money mindset. It is not about becoming a greedy, hoarding miser. It is about buying back your time and your freedom. A massive part of rewriting your financial narrative is dismantling the toxic myths propagated by standard personal finance gurus. For decades, the mainstream media has shouted from the rooftops that if you want to be rich, you just need to stop buying $5 iced lattes, cancel your streaming subscriptions, and survive entirely on ramen noodles and willpower. This advice is not only deeply depressing, but it is also mathematically fundamentally flawed. Skipping a latte once a day might save you around $150 a month, which is fine, but it is not going to buy you a house, wipe out $50,000 in student loan debt, or allow you to retire early. Focus your limited mental energy on the big financial levers that actually move the needle rather than agonizing over microscopic daily expenses that bring you joy. When you obsess over the tiny things, you experience decision fatigue, which inevitably leads to a massive emotional spending binge later on. We want to build a sustainable financial lifestyle, not a restrictive cash diet that leaves you miserable and starving for a good time. Let's look at a quick story to illustrate how powerful a mindset shift can be. Imagine two friends, Sarah and Jessica, who both earn identical salaries of $60,000 a year at the exact same marketing firm in Chicago. Sarah operates from a place of financial dread. She avoids her bank account, treats her friends to expensive dinners she cannot afford to mask her insecurities, and uses shopping as a quick hit of dopamine to escape her stressful job. She views money as water slipping through her fingers, and consequently, she is always broke, stressed, and stuck in a loop of panic. Jessica, on the other hand, decides to confront her financial reality head-on. She views money as an employee that works for her. She allocates her dollars with intention, creates space for her favorite hobbies, and looks at her bank account daily as a tool of empowerment. Jessica doesn't work any harder than Sarah, nor is she smarter. She simply changed her internal script. She stopped seeing money as a monster and started seeing it as a game she could learn to play and win. To truly fix your finances, you must first forgive yourself for your past financial mistakes. We have all made terrible decisions with cash. Maybe you signed up for a high-interest credit card in college to get a free t-shirt, took out massive loans for a degree you don't even use, or spent thousands of dollars on a vacation you are still paying off. Guess what? It is completely okay. Those decisions are in the past, and beating yourself up over them will not rewrite history or erase your debt. The shame you carry is a heavy anchor, preventing you from moving forward into prosperity. Acknowledge the mistake, extract the lesson, and let the guilt go. You were doing the best you could with the information you had at the time. Now that you are equipping yourself with better information, you are going to make better choices. Your financial past does not define your financial future unless you allow it to. Another crucial pillar of the foundation phase is defining your personal why. Why do you actually want to get your financial life together? If your only goal is to see a bigger number in your bank account, you will lose motivation within a few weeks. Human beings are not hardwired to save money just for the sake of saving it. We are hardwired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Your why needs to be deeply emotional, tangible, and exciting. Does financial freedom mean being able to travel the world without checking your bank balance? Does it mean having the flexibility to stay home with your future children, funding a passion project, or escaping a toxic work environment? Write down your emotional trigger. When you have a crystal clear, deeply felt reason driving your actions, saying no to a temporary, impulsive purchase becomes incredibly easy because you are saying a much bigger, more exciting yes to your ultimate dream. Finally, we need to address the concept of financial literacy as a form of ultimate self-care. Somewhere along the way, society convinced us that self-care means buying expensive bath bombs, ordering takeout, and indulging in retail therapy. While those things can be fun, they are temporary band-aids on a deeper wound. True, radical self-care is sitting down with a cup of coffee, opening up your financial statements and organizing your life so that you never have to worry about how you are going to pay your rent next month. It is protecting your future self from unnecessary panic. When you shift your perspective and realize that managing your money is the highest form of self-respect and self-preservation, the dread begins to melt away, replaced by an intoxicating sense of confidence and control. You are fully capable of mastering this domain. It doesn't require a genius IQ or a background in mathematics. It simply requires an open mind, a willingness to be honest with yourself, and a commitment to taking action. Take a deep breath, release the anxiety, and let's get ready to build your roadmap to freedom. Chapter 2. Step 1. Budgeting and tracking expenses. Let's dive straight into the first official step of our roadmap, and I need you to promise me you won't panic when I say the word budgeting. For most people, the word budget feels like a prison sentence. It conjures up depressing images of sitting at a kitchen table under a single dim light bulb, crying over a massive Excel spreadsheet, and crossing off every single thing that makes life worth living. We view a budget as a tool designed to strip away our joy, tell us no at every turn, and punish us for our lifestyle choices. But we are completely flipping that definition on its head right now. A budget is not a financial straitjacket. It is a blueprint for your freedom. It is simply a tool that gives you permission to spend your money on the things you love without feeling an ounce of guilt. When you don't have a budget, every single purchase, whether it's a pair of shoes, a concert ticket, or a nice dinner out, is quietly laced with a subtle undercurrent of anxiety because you are constantly wondering, can I actually afford this? A budget removes the guesswork and hands you total confidence. The very first phase of mastering this step involves tracking your expenses with brutal, radical honesty. You cannot fix a problem if you don't know where it starts. Most of us think we know where our money goes, but our brains are masters of self-deception. We remember the big, responsible moves, like paying our rent or utility bills, but we conveniently forget the $7 energy drinks, the forgotten streaming subscriptions, the impulse online shopping hauls, and the random convenience store runs. To build an accurate roadmap, you need to track every single dollar that leaves your hands for at least 30 days. This isn't about judging or shaming yourself. It's about collecting data like a scientist. You can use a dedicated app, a simple note on your phone, or an old-school pocket notebook. The method doesn't matter, the accuracy does. When you see your real-life spending habits staring back at you in black and white, it is often a massive wake-up call that completely changes how you view your daily choices. Once you have a clear picture of where your money is going, the next step is to analyze your actual income, specifically focusing on your net post-tax earnings. A very common mistake people make is basing their financial plans on their gross salary. If your boss offers you a job making $60,000 a year, your brain immediately breaks that down to $5,000 a month. But when your paycheck actually hits your account, it's significantly less because Uncle Sam takes his cut first, followed by health insurance premiums, retirement contributions, and local taxes. If you build a lifestyle based on your gross income, you are setting yourself up for financial failure before you even start. You need to look at the exact amount of cold, hard cash that lands in your checking account every single month. This is your true starting line, your actual baseline for survival and wealth building. With your post-tax income on one side and your tracked expenses on the other, you can now identify what we call your essential surplus. To find this number, we have to separate your expenses into two distinct categories: your fixed, mandatory costs versus your variable, discretionary costs. Your fixed costs are the non-negotiables, things like rent or mortgage payments, minimum debt payments, insurance, utilities, and basic groceries. These are the absolute essentials required to keep a roof over your head and food in your belly. Your discretionary costs are the nice-to-haves: eating out, drinks with friends, clothing, concerts, and hobbies. When you subtract your fixed essential living expenses from your post-tax income, the number you are left with is your essential surplus. This surplus is the most powerful weapon you possess on your journey to financial freedom. It is the raw capital you will use to kill debt, build emergency savings, and fund your investments. Let's look at a concrete example to see how this works in the real world. Meet Ryan, a graphic designer living in Austin, Texas. Ryan brings home exactly $4,000 a month after taxes. He felt like he was always broke but couldn't understand why, because he didn't think he lived an extravagant lifestyle. When he finally tracked his expenses for a month, he discovered his fixed costs, rent, utilities, car payment, insurance, and basic groceries, came out to $2,500. This meant his essential surplus was $1,500. So where was that money going? The data revealed that Ryan was spending over $800 a month on weekend bar tabs, ride shares, and ordering food delivery because he was too tired to cook. Another $400 was evaporating into various gym memberships and subscription services he rarely used. Ryan didn't have an income problem, he had a tracking problem. By identifying his essential surplus, he realized he had $1,500 of raw financial power every single month that he was accidentally wasting away. The beauty of identifying your essential surplus is that it completely shifts your perspective on spending. Instead of seeing a giant pool of money that you randomly draw from until it hits zero, you see two distinct streams. You realize exactly how much it costs to run your life, and you see the exact amount of margin you have to build your future wealth. If your essential surplus is dangerously low or worse, if it's a negative number, it means you are living beyond your means and relying on credit cards to bridge the gap. That is an immediate red flag that tells you it's time to make major adjustments. On the flip side, if your surplus is healthy but your bank account is still empty, it means you have a behavioral leak that needs to be plugged. Knowing this number gives you the ultimate leverage. because it strips away the mystery of your financial situation and hands you the facts. To make budgeting stick for the long haul, you need to abandon the idea of perfection. A budget is a living, breathing document that will change every single month. January will look completely different from December because December might involve holiday travel, gift shopping, and festive parties, while January might be focused on staying home and resetting. Expecting your expenses to be identical every month is unrealistic and will only lead to frustration. At the start of every month, sit down for 15 minutes and map out what the upcoming weeks actually look like. Allocate your income intentionally, ensuring that every single dollar has a specific job to do before the month even begins. If you want to spend $200 on a fancy dinner for your anniversary, put it in the budget explicitly. By planning for it, you transform that dinner from an impulsive, stress-inducing mistake into a deliberate, fully funded celebration. Ultimately, mastering step 1 is about reclaiming your role as the CEO of your own life. When you refuse to track your expenses and budget your income, you are essentially operating a business with your eyes closed, hoping you don't go bankrupt. That is a terrifying way to live. By tracking your expenses, calculating your true post-tax income, and defining your essential surplus, you are taking off the blindfold. You are stepping into a position of absolute clarity and control. You are acknowledging where you are right now so that you can accurately map out where you want to go next. It takes a little bit of discipline and honesty, but the peace of mind it brings is worth more than any impulse purchase ever could. Get comfortable with your numbers, embrace the data, and get ready to use your essential surplus to supercharge your wealth. Chapter 3, Step 2. Cutting expenses and increasing your golden number. Now that you have tracked your expenses and uncovered your essential surplus, it's time to lean into the second step of our roadmap: cutting expenses and radically increasing your golden number. Your golden number is the ultimate margin, the pure gap between what you bring home and what you spend. The wider you can stretch this gap, the faster you can sprint toward financial independence. Now, when most people think about cutting expenses, they immediately sink into a dark place of despair. They assume they have to start clipping coupons, cancel their Wi-Fi, and live like a monk in a drafty apartment. But that is old-school, restrictive financial advice, and frankly, it doesn't work long-term because it makes people miserable. We are not interested in deprivation. We are interested in optimization. We want to ruthlessly cut expenses on the things that don't bring us value so we can aggressively pour money into the things that actually matter. To pull this off, you need to conduct a thorough financial audit to spot and plug the hidden leaks, draining your wallet every month. Think of your bank account like a bucket of water. If the bucket has 10 tiny, pea-sized holes in the bottom, it doesn't matter how much water you pour into the top. It's eventually going to drain out completely. The worst part is that you won't even notice the individual drops leaving. These hidden leaks usually take the form of automatic recurring subscriptions and memberships that you signed up for months or even years ago and completely forgot about. It's the streaming service you only use to watch one specific show, the premium app you downloaded for a free trial that subtly started charging you $14.99 a month, or the gym membership you keep paying for out of pure guilt even though you haven't stepped foot inside the building since last January. Let's look at a concrete tactic to wipe out these leaks. In under an hour, the subscription cleanse. Sit down with your bank and credit card statements from the last 3 months. Highlight every single recurring payment. Look at each one and ask yourself a simple, brutal question. Have I actively used and valued this service in the last 30 days? If the answer is no, cancel it on the spot. If you find yourself hesitating because you think, well, I might use it eventually, cancel it anyway. If you truly miss it, you can always sign up again later. By running this simple audit, Most people easily uncover $50, $100, or even $200 a month of pure cash that was silently evaporating into corporate pockets. That is money that could be sitting in your savings account, earning interest or wiping out your debt. Once you've cleared out the low-hanging fruit of forgotten subscriptions, it's time to move on to a major expense category that catches almost everyone off guard: your insurance policies and utility bills. Most people view bills like car insurance, renter's insurance, phone plans, and internet service as static, unchangeable facts of life. You get a bill, you pay it, and you move on. But here is an insider secret. Insurance companies and service providers count on your laziness. They use a tactic called price walking, where they slowly raise your rates every single year, hoping you won't notice or bother to complain. If you have been with the same car insurance provider for more than 2 consecutive years, there is a massive chance you are overpaying by hundreds of dollars annually. To fix this, you need to spend one afternoon shopping around and negotiating. Call up your current internet or phone provider and tell them you are looking at lower-priced offers from their direct competitors and are considering switching. Ask to speak with their retention department, the specific team authorized to give out major discounts to prevent customers from leaving. More often than not, they will suddenly find a hidden promotion that slashes your monthly bill by $20 or $30 just to keep you happy. Next, go online and get quick insurance quotes from 3 competing companies. If you find a lower rate for the exact same coverage, you can either switch on the spot or call your current provider and ask them to match it. These simple conversations require very little effort, but they permanently lower your baseline fixed expenses, automatically widening your golden number month after month. Let's look at a quick story to see the power of bill optimization. Meet Sarah, a nurse living in Denver. Sarah felt like her fixed costs were eating her alive. She ran a bill audit and discovered her car insurance had crept up to $180 a month. Her phone bill was $110, and her internet was $95. She spent exactly 2 hours on a Tuesday afternoon making phone calls and pulling online quotes. She switched her car insurance to a competitor, keeping the identical coverage limits, and dropped her premium to $115 a month. She negotiated her internet bill down to $65 by threatening to cancel, and she switched her cell phone service to a high-quality prepaid carrier, dropping her bill to $45 a month. Total time invested, 2 hours. Total monthly savings, $160. That adds up to nearly $2,000 of pure surplus, put back into Sarah's pocket every single year without her having to sacrifice a single thing she enjoys. Now, let's tackle the variable expense that represents the biggest financial trap for the U.S. consumer: convenience spending. This includes buying prepackaged convenience meals, ordering takeout multiple times a week because you didn't plan ahead, and relying on premium delivery apps that tack on service fees, delivery charges, and tips that easily double the cost of a standard meal. There is absolutely nothing wrong with enjoying a fantastic dinner out at a great restaurant with friends. That is a deliberate, joyful experience. The problem arises when you spend $40 on a cold, soggy burrito delivered to your couch simply because you are tired, your fridge is empty, and you didn't have a plan. That is reactive, unfulfilling spending that actively sabotages your financial future. You can fight back against convenience spending using a simple, high-impact habit: tactical meal prepping and the emergency freezer meal strategy. You don't need to spend your entire Sunday cooking identical containers of chicken, rice, and broccoli for the week ahead. Instead, simply cook double portions when you do make dinner during the week and freeze the extras. Always keep 2 or 3 high-quality, easy-to-prepare frozen meals in your freezer at all times. When you come home after a brutal, exhausting workday and your brain screams at you to open a food delivery app, you can look in the freezer and realize you have a delicious meal ready to go in 5 minutes. By outsmarting your future laziness, you save thousands of dollars a year and keep your golden number safely intact. Ultimately, maximizing your golden number is an exercise in intentionality. It's about looking at every dollar you spend and ensuring it is pulling its weight. If an expense genuinely enhances your happiness and aligns with your long-term goals, keep it and enjoy it guilt-free. But if an expense is the result of a hidden leak, a lazy habit, or corporate price gouging, eliminate it ruthlessly. Every single dollar you save through optimization is a dollar that can be put to work building your empire. You are expanding your margin, building your financial muscle, and taking total control of your cash flow. Keep refining your systems, keep hunting for leaks, and get ready to channel your newly supercharged golden number into the next crucial phase of the roadmap. Chapter 4, Step 3, Creating Emergency Funds. We have officially successfully tracked your cash flow, optimized your expenses, and widened your golden number. Now it is time to deploy that newly created surplus into building an impenetrable financial fortress. Starting with Step 3, Creating Emergency Funds. If there is one absolute unavoidable truth about life, it is that the unexpected will happen. Your car's transmission will suddenly blow out on the highway. Your laptop will unexpectedly crash the night before a major presentation, or you will find yourself facing a sudden medical bill or an unannounced layoff. In the past, events like these were full-blown life catastrophes that could completely derail your progress, send you spiraling into high-interest credit card debt, and ruin your sleep for months. But once you have a dedicated emergency fund, a financial crisis transforms from a terrifying life disaster into nothing more than a minor, temporary inconvenience. It takes the teeth right out of life's worst-case scenarios. The absolute foundation of this step relies on a highly effective framework known as the 4-bucket savings strategy. Most traditional financial advisors tell you to throw all of your savings into one giant pile of cash in a standard bank account. The major problem with that approach is psychological. When all your money sits in one big pool, it is incredibly easy to experience a false sense of security, look at the high balance, and accidentally dip into your emergency cash to pay for a last-minute flight or an impulsive weekend getaway. By dividing your cash into 4 separate, distinct buckets, you give every single dollar a highly specific, tactical job description. This structural clarity eliminates the temptation to misspend your money and ensures you are fully prepared for whatever curveball life decides to throw your way. The very first bucket you need to build is your initial emergency fund, which we call the starter bucket. This is a quick, agile stash of exactly $1,000 to $2,000, depending on your baseline living costs. The sole purpose of the starter bucket is to act as a buffer against minor, everyday emergencies while you are working through the rest of the financial roadmap, like paying off high-interest debt. It is the money that saves you when your phone screen shatters or your tire catches a rogue nail. You want to build this bucket as quickly as humanly possible using your expanded golden number. Treat it with absolute urgency. Until this first bucket is fully funded, you are financially exposed, operating without a safety net, and just one minor bad break away from falling back into the cycle of high-interest debt. Once your starter cushion is safely in place, you can turn your attention to the second bucket, the fully funded emergency fund, or the runway bucket. This is your ultimate insurance policy against major life disruptions, specifically a sudden job loss or a prolonged illness. The runway bucket should hold between 3 to 6 months' worth of your absolute baseline essential living expenses, not your full monthly income, but the bare bones amount required to keep a roof over your head and food on the table if your income completely vanished. If you work in a highly stable industry with consistent demand, a 3-month buffer might be completely sufficient. However, if you are an entrepreneur, work on a commission structure, or operate in a volatile market, aiming for a full 6-month cushion gives you the deep, unshakable peace of mind you need to take calculated risks in your career. Let's look at a quick example to see how the runway bucket changes your psychological relationship with risk. Meet Marcus, an account executive living in Atlanta. Marcus used to live paycheck to paycheck, constantly terrified that his demanding boss might fire him on a whim. He spent 4 months aggressively channeling his golden number into building a $15,000 runway bucket, representing 5 months of his necessary living expenses. A few weeks later, his company announced major structural corporate layoffs. In the past, this news would have triggered a massive panic attack. But with his runway bucket locked down, Marcus felt an incredible wave of calm. He realized he had 5 full months to breathe, update his resume, and find the perfect next opportunity without having to accept a terrible low-paying job out of pure desperation. An emergency fund isn't just cash, it is structural leverage. The third bucket in our strategy is the irregular expenses bucket, often referred to as the sinking fund. This bucket handles expenses that are 100% predictable, but do not occur on a monthly basis. Think about things like annual car registration fees, biannual insurance premiums, holiday gift shopping, or routine dental cleanings. A massive reason people constantly fail to stay on track with their budgets is that they treat these expected periodic expenses as sudden, unpredictable emergencies. If you know you spend $600 every single December on holiday gifts for your family, that is not an emergency, it is an annual event. By dividing that $600 by 12 months, you realize you simply need to route $50 every month into your sinking fund bucket. When December rolls around, you can buy your gifts completely guilt-free with cash, leaving your core emergency fund perfectly untouched. The fourth and final bucket is the specific goals bucket. This is where you house the money you are actively saving for short-term fun milestones that fall outside of your emergency infrastructure. Things like a down payment on a house, a dream vacation to Italy, or a wedding fund. By keeping your fun goals entirely separate from your emergency runway, you protect your survival cash from being compromised. You know exactly what money is untouchable and what money is fair game to spend. This clean, organized separation removes the psychological friction of saving, transforming it from an ambiguous chore into an exciting, goal-oriented countdown toward the things you are genuinely looking forward to experiencing. Now let's talk about exactly where you should keep these buckets, because leaving this cash in a standard checking or traditional savings account is a massive financial mistake. The big brick-and-mortar national banks are currently paying an insulting near-zero interest rate on traditional savings accounts, often a measly 0.01%. That means if you leave $10,000 sitting there for an entire year, they will hand you a single dollar in interest, while inflation quietly eats away at the purchasing power of your hard-earned cash. To combat this, you need to park your emergency funds in a high-yield savings account, commonly known as an HYSA. HYSAs are offered primarily by secure online banks that don't have the massive overhead costs of physical branches, allowing them to pass those savings on to you in the form of interest rates that are often 40 to 50 times higher than traditional banks. Moving your emergency cash to a high-yield savings account is a total no-brainer. It is the exact same cash protected by the exact same federal FDIC insurance up to $250,000, but it actually works for you while it sits there. A $10,000 emergency fund in an HYSA can easily generate hundreds of dollars a year in completely passive, risk-free interest income, turning your safety net into a mini cash-flowing asset. Furthermore, keeping your emergency cash at a separate online bank creates an incredibly healthy psychological barrier. Because the money isn't immediately visible every single time you log in to check your daily checking account balance, it stays completely out of sight and out of mind, significantly reducing the temptation to dip into it for non-emergencies. Ultimately, mastering Step 3 is about buying yourself structural stability and absolute emotional security. When you build the 4-bucket savings strategy and maximize your returns using a high-yield savings account, you are effectively bulletproofing your life against the chaos of the unpredictable world. You no longer have to live in fear of the next bad break or the next economic downturn. You have taken total control of your risk, organized your capital with precision, and created a solid, unshakable foundation. With your emergency infrastructure locked down, you can now move forward with total confidence, ready to tackle your debts and build real wealth without ever having to take a step backward. Chapter 5. Step 4. Handling Debt Wisely. Now that you have built your impenetrable financial fortress with your emergency buckets, it is time to turn your weapons toward the single greatest wealth killer in modern history: consumer debt. Welcome to Step 4 of our roadmap. Let's be completely blunt here. Debt is modern-day financial slavery. When you carry a balance on high-interest credit cards, car loans, or even student loans, you are essentially leasing out your future time and labor to major banking corporations. Every month, a massive chunk of your hard-earned golden number is forcibly stripped away from you just to cover the cost of your past purchases and piling interest. You cannot build a massive empire of wealth if you are constantly pouring your raw capital into someone else's balance sheet. It is time to draw a line in the sand, declare war on your liabilities, and systematically buy back your freedom. To win this war, you need a battle-tested strategy, and the personal finance world generally relies on 2 legendary methods to crush debt: the debt snowball and the debt avalanche. Both of these methods require you to list out all of your debts from top to bottom, detailing the total balance owed, the minimum monthly payment, and the specific interest rate for each account. No matter which method you choose, you will commit to paying the absolute minimum required balance on every single debt except for one. That one specific target debt is where you will ruthlessly channel every spare dollar of your golden number, along with any random cash windfalls, bonuses, or side hustle money you can get your hands on, until it is completely wiped off the face of the earth. Let's look at how the debt snowball method operates, because it is an absolute psychological masterpiece. With the debt snowball, you organize your debts strictly by the total balance owed, from the smallest dollar amount to the largest, completely ignoring the interest rates. You throw your entire financial weight at that smallest debt first. Because the balance is low, you can often wipe it out entirely within a matter of weeks or a few short months. When that first debt is dead, you take the entire amount you were paying toward it, both your golden number surplus and the old minimum payment, and you roll it directly into the next smallest debt on your list. This creates a powerful financial momentum, exactly like a snowball rolling down a mountain, growing larger and more destructive with every single rotation. The beauty of the debt snowball relies entirely on human psychology. Mathematically, it might not seem to make sense to ignore interest rates, but personal finance is 20% head knowledge and 80% behavior. If math were the only thing that mattered, none of us would have credit card debt in the first place. We need quick wins to stay motivated. When you see an entire debt account completely close out and disappear from your life forever, your brain releases a massive hit of dopamine, You suddenly realize, wow, this system actually works. I can actually do this. That emotional victory fuels your fire to tackle the next balance, keeping you highly engaged and committed to the process long after the initial excitement of starting has completely faded away. Now let's compare that to the debt avalanche method, which appeals heavily to the hyper-analytical, math-loving crowd. With the avalanche, you organize your debts strictly by their interest rate, placing the highest interest debt, usually a predatory credit card sitting at 24% or 28% APR, at the absolute top of your hit list, regardless of how large the total balance is. You attack that high-interest monster with everything you've got, while paying the bare minimums on the rest. Mathematically, the avalanche is the absolute most efficient way to get out of debt because it minimizes the total amount of interest that accumulates against you over time, saving you the maximum amount of cold, hard cash in the long run. The major risk with the avalanche method is entirely psychological. If your highest interest debt happens to be a massive $30,000 student loan or a giant credit card balance, it could take you a year or more of intense, aggressive payments before you see that single account hit zero. Without the quick, tangible victory of crossing an entire account off your list, it is incredibly easy to experience burnout, lose your momentum, and abandon your plan altogether. The best method is simply the one you will actually stick to. If you need psychological momentum and emotional wins, use the snowball. If you are deeply disciplined and lose sleep over interest calculations, use the avalanche. Choose your weapon and execute it with zero mercy. Let's look at a story to see how managing debt changes a life. Meet Amanda, a marketing coordinator in Seattle, who found herself drowning in $25,000 of debt spread across 4 different accounts: a $1,200 retail store card, a $4,500 Visa card, an $8,300 car loan, and an $11,000 student loan. Amanda decided to use the debt snowball. She lined them up by balance and attacked the $1,200 store card, first using her optimized $500 monthly golden number. Within less than 3 months, that store card was entirely history. She then rolled that old minimum payment and her surplus into the Visa card, crushing it in less than 8 months. By the time she reached her student loan, her monthly debt-crushing power had snowballed into a massive force. She didn't just pay off her debt, she completely rewired her brain to understand that she was entirely in control of her financial destiny. While you are aggressively executing your chosen debt method, you should also deploy high-impact optimization tactics to lower your interest rates and accelerate your progress behind the scenes. Every dollar you can shave off your interest rate is a dollar that goes directly toward wiping out your principal balance instead of lining a banker's pockets. For credit card debt, you can look into a balance transfer credit card. Many reputable banks offer promotional periods where they will allow you to move your existing high-interest credit card debt onto a new card with a 0% introductory APR for 12, 15, or even 21 months. While there is usually a small upfront transfer fee of around 3% to 5%, avoiding a 25% interest rate for over a year can save you thousands of dollars and give you a massive window to kill the principal balance completely interest-free. For those navigating the massive world of federal and private student loans, student loan consolidation or refinancing can be an absolute game changer. If you have multiple loans scattered across different lenders with varying high interest rates, refinancing allows a new private lender to pay off those old loans and combine them into a single sleek loan with one fixed monthly payment and a significantly lower interest rate. A quick word of warning, though. When you refinance federal student loans into private loans, You permanently wave goodbye to federal benefits like income-driven repayment plans, public service loan forgiveness, and federal forbearance options. If you have stable employment and a stellar credit score, the interest savings from private refinancing can shave years off your repayment timeline. Ultimately, mastering Step 4 is about shifting from defensive survival to aggressive offense. Debt is a heavy anchor that drags down your financial progress, keeping you locked in place regardless of how hard you try to swim forward. By implementing a systematic snowball or avalanche strategy and combining it with smart optimization tools like balance transfers and refinancing, you are methodically cutting that anchor away. Imagine the sheer, intoxicating freedom of looking at your bank account every month and realizing that every single dollar of your income belongs entirely to you. No minimum payments, no interest charges, no corporate masters. You are freeing up your cash flow, maximizing your future options, and preparing your capital for the ultimate phase of the game, making your money work for you. Let's finish cleaning up the liabilities and get ready to supercharge your wealth. Chapter 6, Step 5, Mastering Credit Scores. Now that you have declared war on your debt and built an impenetrable cash fortress, it is time to master the single most influential number in your adult life: your credit score. Welcome to Step 5 of our roadmap. In the United States, your credit score is essentially your adult GPA. It is a 3-digit number ranging from 300 to 850 that tells the entire financial world exactly how trustworthy you are with borrowed money. Now, a lot of personal finance gurus will tell you to completely ignore your credit score, cut up all your cards, and live entirely on cash. While that sounds wonderfully romantic, it is deeply impractical advice for navigating the modern U.S. economy. Your credit score doesn't just affect your ability to get a credit card. It determines the interest rate on your future mortgage when you buy a house, dictates whether a landlord will approve your apartment application, and can even impact your car insurance premiums or your ability to land a high-level corporate security clearance. Having a terrible credit score or no credit history at all makes life needlessly expensive and difficult. On the flip side, building a bomb-proof credit score, anything above a 750, hands you an invisible VIP financial passport. It forces banks to compete for your business, unlocks the absolute lowest interest rates on the market, and saves you tens of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. To build a flawless score, you have to understand exactly how the FICO formula calculates your creditworthiness. The system isn't a mysterious black box. It is a highly predictable algorithm based on 5 distinct weighted pillars. Payment history, 35%. The absolute king of your credit score. This is a binary test of reliability. Did you pay your bills on time, or did you miss a payment? A single 30-day late payment can cause a pristine score to instantly plummet by over 100 points, and that red mark will sit on your report like a scar for 7 long years. Credit utilization, 30%. This is the ratio between the total credit balance you owe and your overall credit limit, expressed as a percentage. If you have a credit card with a $10,000 limit and your current balance is $9,000, your utilization is a staggering 90%. The algorithm views high utilization as a massive red flag, indicating that you are financially overextended and desperate for cash. Length of credit history, 15%. The algorithm rewards longevity. It looks at the average age of all your accounts combined, as well as the age of your oldest active account. The longer you have successfully managed credit, the more predictable and trustworthy you appear to lenders. Credit mix, 10%. Lenders love to see that you can responsibly handle different types of debt simultaneously, such as revolving credit, credit cards, and installment loans, auto loans, student loans, or mortgages. New credit, 10%. Every time you apply for a new loan or credit card, the lender triggers what is called a hard inquiry on your report to check your history. Opening multiple new accounts or racking up too many hard inquiries in a short window makes you look incredibly risky, causing a temporary dip in your score. Let's look at a concrete strategy to manipulate these pillars to supercharge your score in record time. First, to permanently lock down your payment history, you need to remove human error from the equation entirely by setting up automatic minimum payments. Life gets busy, emails get buried in your inbox, and it is tragically easy to simply forget a due date. By configuring your bank account to automatically transfer at least the minimum required payment for every single one of your bills a few days before the official deadline, you guarantee a flawless 100% on-time track record. You can always log in later and pay off the rest of the balance manually using your golden number, but the automation ensures your score is perfectly insulated against accidental slip-ups. Next, let's look at a powerful counterintuitive hack to instantly optimize your credit utilization without spending a single dollar. Requesting a credit limit increase. Traditional restrictive financial advice tells you to keep your credit limits as low as possible to prevent spending, but the FICO formula thinks the exact opposite. To maintain a spectacular score, you want your utilization ratio to sit comfortably below 10% and absolutely never cross above 30%. Imagine a retail manager named David who has a single credit card with a $2,000 limit. David charges $1,000 of normal, everyday expenses to his card every month and pays it off completely when the bill arrives. Even though David is being incredibly responsible by never carrying a balance or paying a dime of interest, his reported utilization is sitting at 50%. The credit algorithm looks at that 50% marker and penalizes his score. Now imagine David logs into his online banking portal or calls the number on the back of his card and requests a credit limit increase, raising his limit from $2,000 to $10,000 based on his solid income and on-time history. Suddenly, that exact same $1,000 monthly spending habits represents a beautiful, healthy utilization ratio of just 10%. David didn't change his spending by a single penny, yet his credit score instantly rockets upward simply because his margin expanded. Another brilliant, lesser-known tactical move for mastering utilization is executing the statement date swap. Most people assume that credit card companies report your balance to the credit bureaus on your official payment due date. In reality, they report your balance on your statement closing date, which is usually 3 to 4 weeks before your due date. If you wait until the due date to pay your bill, the credit bureaus have already recorded your high balance for the month, tanking your utilization score even if you pay the entire balance off to zero a few weeks later. To outsmart this system, simply log into your account and pay off your balance a few days before the statement closing date, ensuring a near-zero balance is reported to the world every single month. If you are starting from absolute scratch with no credit history whatsoever, or if you are recovering from past financial mistakes, the standard credit card market might feel entirely locked off to you. To break into the system safely, you can deploy 2 highly accessible tools: secure credit cards and the authorized user strategy. A secured credit card requires you to place a refundable cash deposit, usually $200 to $500, directly with the bank. That deposit acts as collateral and becomes your official credit limit. You use the card to buy a tank of gas or a few groceries, pay it off in full every month, and the bank reports your flawless behavior to the credit bureaus. After a year of consistent, responsible use, the bank refunds your deposit and upgrades you to a standard unsecured card. Alternatively, if you have a parent, spouse, or close family member with an immaculate credit history and an old, low-balance credit card, you can ask them to add you as an authorized user on that specific account. You don't even need to physically possess the plastic card or spend a single dollar of their money. The entire positive history of that old account is automatically copied and pasted directly onto your personal credit report, giving your score an immediate, massive institutional boost. Ultimately, mastering Step 5 is about understanding that credit is not a dangerous enemy to be feared. It is a strategic game to be analyzed, leveraged, and won. When you build a bomb-proof credit score through flawless payment automation, strategic limit increases, and meticulous utilization tracking, you are drastically lowering the future cost of your existence. You are ensuring that when the time comes to make major moves, like buying a home or securing business capital, the financial systems will work entirely in your favor, handing you the absolute best terms humanly possible. You have optimized your cash flow, wiped out your bad debts, secured your credit passport, and built an unshakable foundation. Now you are officially ready to step into the arena of true wealth generation, making your money work for you through the power of investing. Chapter 6. Step 6. Introduction to Investing. Now that you have optimized your cash flow, built a solid fortress of emergency savings, crushed your high-interest liabilities, and secured a stellar credit score, you have officially earned your invitation to the main event. Welcome to Step 6. Introduction to Investing. Up until this point, you have been playing defense and clearing out the wreckage of past financial choices. But this is where the game completely flips. This is where you pivot from working hard for your money to forcing your money to work aggressively for you. There is a massive misconception in the United States that the stock market is essentially an exclusive, high-stakes casino reserved only for ultra-wealthy individuals or math geniuses in expensive suits who spend their entire day staring at flashing green and red monitors on Wall Street. Because of this widespread myth, millions of hard-working people completely avoid investing out of pure fear. They leave their extra cash rotting away in standard bank checking accounts, completely unaware that inflation is silently eating away at their purchasing power every single second. But here is the undeniable truth. You do not need to be rich to start investing, and you absolutely do not need to understand complex mathematical algorithms to build massive wealth. Investing is simply buying a small piece of a real company that builds real products and generates real profits. When that company succeeds, you grow wealthy right alongside it. To confidently enter the market, you must first demystify the two core building blocks of traditional investing: stocks and bonds. Think of buying a stock as purchasing a tiny, microscopic slice of ownership in a business. If you buy one single share of a company like Apple, Microsoft, or Disney, you are officially a part owner of that corporation. If Apple sells millions of new phones worldwide, the value of your tiny slice goes up, and they might even send you a direct cash payment called a dividend just for holding their stock. The upside of stocks is virtually limitless, but they come with volatility. Stock prices fluctuate constantly based on economic conditions, public sentiment, and company performance. A bond, on the other hand, operates on a completely different framework. Buying a bond means you are acting as the bank. You are essentially issuing a formal loan to a corporation or a government entity like the U.S. federal government. In exchange for your cash loan, they provide a legal guarantee to pay you back your initial principal amount on a specific future date while sending you regular fixed interest payments along the way. Because bonds are backed by legal obligations, they are vastly more stable and predictable than stocks. However, that safety comes with a clear trade-off. Bonds offer significantly lower long-term returns compared to the explosive growth potential of the stock market. To bridge the gap between explosive stock growth and stable bond safety, modern investors rely on an incredible vehicle known as an index fund or mutual fund. If buying an individual stock is like purchasing one single tree, buying an index fund is like purchasing an entire square mile of the forest. Instead of betting all your hard-earned cash on one company, where an unexpected corporate scandal or a bad product launch could wipe out your savings overnight, an index fund allows you to pool your money with millions of other investors to purchase a tiny piece of hundreds of different companies simultaneously. For example, an index fund tracking the S&P 500 automatically distributes your money across the 500 largest, most successful corporations in the United States. If 5 of those companies have a terrible year, it doesn't matter because the other 495 companies pull the weight, dragging your portfolio upward over time. It is instant built-in diversification that keeps your risk incredibly low. To actually make your first investment trade, you need to open a specific type of financial account known as a brokerage account. Think of a brokerage account exactly like a standard checking account, except instead of holding only cash, it gives you the legal power to buy and hold stocks, bonds, and funds. Opening a brokerage account in the United States today is entirely free and takes less than 10 minutes online through major reputable custodian platforms like Vanguard, Fidelity, or Charles Schwab. You simply link your standard checking account, transfer over your golden number surplus, and execute your first trade. You can choose a standard taxable brokerage account, which allows you to deposit and withdraw money at any age without penalties, or a tax-advantaged account like a Roth IRA, which allows your investments to grow completely tax-free for your future retirement. To ensure you navigate the markets with absolute safety and never lose your shirt, you must strictly memorize and deploy Rachel's 4 golden rules for safe investing. These rules are designed to insulate your portfolio from human emotion, market panics, and costly behavioral mistakes. Rule 1. Only invest money you don't need for the next 5 years. The stock market is highly predictable over long periods, but completely volatile over short horizons. If you look at any historical chart of the U.S. stock market, the long-term trajectory resembles a beautiful mountain climbing upward. But if you zoom in close, that mountain is filled with jagged drops, crashes, and corrections. If you invest money that you need for rent next summer, a sudden market dip could force you to sell your investments at a massive loss out of pure survival desperation. By keeping a minimum 5-year runway on all invested capital, you give your portfolio the necessary time to ride out any temporary economic storms and recover completely before you ever need to touch a single dollar. Rule 2. Harness the power of dollar-cost averaging. Trying to perfectly time the stock market is a fool's errand that even professional Wall Street fund managers fail at consistently. Dollar-cost averaging removes human guesswork entirely. It means you commit to investing a fixed dollar amount, say $200 from your golden number, on the exact same day every single month, completely regardless of whether the market is hitting record highs or crashing to terrifying lows. When the market is high, your $200 buys fewer shares. When the market crashes, your $200 suddenly acts like a massive discount coupon, automatically buying way more shares while they are on sale. Over time, this mechanical consistency smooths out your average purchase price, lowers your overall risk, and ensures you never experience the panic of investing all your money at the absolute worst psychological moment. Rule 3. Keep fees and expenses dirt cheap. Every index fund and mutual fund carries an internal management fee known as an expense ratio, expressed as a percentage. If a fund has an expense ratio of 1%, It means the bank takes $1 out of every $100 you invest every single year just to manage the fund. While 1% sounds microscopic over a 30-year investing career, that tiny fee compounds against you, quietly stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars of your ultimate wealth. You want to prioritize low-cost index funds that carry expense ratios close to zero, often as low as 0.03% or 0.04%. By keeping your fees incredibly low, you ensure that the vast majority of the market's compound returns stay exactly where they belong, compounding inside your personal account. Rule 4. Never invest in something you don't understand. If a trendy social media influencer, a slick salesperson, or a cousin at a Thanksgiving dinner tries to pitch you a complex, confusing investment scheme involving exotic derivatives, secret algorithms, or volatile digital assets, walk away immediately. If you cannot explain exactly how an investment makes money to a 12-year-old child in under 2 minutes, you have no business putting your hard-earned capital into it. Stick to simple, transparent, low-cost index funds that track the broader American and global economy. It may feel boring compared to the flashing lights of speculative gambling, but boring consistency is exactly how real generational wealth is quietly manufactured over time. Ultimately, mastering Step 6 is about shifting your role from a passive consumer to an active owner. Every time you buy an index fund, you are securing a direct stake in the global engine of capitalism. You no longer have to solely rely on your physical energy, your hourly wage, or a corporate boss to build your future. Your money is now working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, compounding quietly in the background while you sleep, travel, or spend time with your family. By managing your risk through diversification, utilizing reliable brokerage accounts, and anchoring your choices to the 4 golden rules, you have transformed the stock market from a terrifying casino into your ultimate wealth-building machine. You are now fully prepared to step into the final, most exciting phase of the entire roadmap, calculating your magic freedom figures and building aggressive streams of passive income. Chapter 7. Step 7. Redefining retirement and building passive income. We have finally reached the ultimate destination of our roadmap, the peak of the entire financial mountain. Welcome to Step 7. Redefining retirement and building passive income. For generations, the word retirement has had a highly specific static definition in the United States. We are told that we must trade the absolute best, most energetic years of our lives to a 9-to-5 corporate career, working for 40 or 50 consecutive years while saving a tiny fraction of our income. Then, if we are lucky enough to survive until age 65 or 70, we can finally collect a gold watch, stop working, and begin to quietly enjoy whatever health and time we have left. But this traditional model is fundamentally broken, highly risky, and deeply outdated. Why on earth should you wait until your knees ache and your youth is behind you to finally own your time? We are completely shattering that old-school timeline today. True retirement has absolutely nothing to do with your physical age. It is entirely a mathematical reality. You are officially retired the exact moment your passive income streams exceed your baseline living expenses. To unlock this radical early freedom, you must first calculate your personal financial target, which we call the magic figure. Your magic figure is the precise dollar amount of passive income you need to generate every single month to completely cover your lifestyle, rendering traditional employment entirely optional. Finding this number is incredibly simple. Look back at the data you collected in Step 1. What does it actually cost to run your life every month, including your housing, utilities, insurance, groceries, and a healthy allocation for fun and travel? If your target baseline lifestyle costs exactly $4,000 a month, then $4,000 is your official magic figure. The moment you build passive assets that deposit $4,001 into your bank account every month without your physical labor, you are free. You have crossed the threshold into absolute financial independence. You can choose to keep working your job because you love it. You can quit on the spot to travel the world. Or you can pivot your energy toward an ambitious passion project without ever worrying about how you will pay rent. To hit your magic figure, you need to understand the exact nature of true passive income, which is money earned with little to no ongoing daily effort. Now, let's clear up a massive misconception right now. Passive income is absolutely not a get-rich-quick scheme, nor is it free money that falls from the sky while you sit around doing nothing. Building a real, sustainable passive income stream requires a massive upfront investment. You must be willing to sacrifice your resources on the front end, paying the price in one of two distinct currencies: raw capital or focused time. You either invest a massive pile of cash upfront into an asset that immediately pays you dividends, or you invest sweat equity, spending weeks or months of intense, uncompensated hours creating an asset that will pay you long into the future. It is hard work on the front end for an incredibly lazy, highly lucrative back end. Let's explore the first major arena of time-leveraged passive income: content creation and intellectual property. This is where you use your unique skills, knowledge, or creativity to build a digital asset once and then license or sell it to the world thousands of times over. Writing and self-publishing a book on platforms like Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing is a spectacular example. You spend 6 months outlining, writing, and editing a book. It takes immense mental energy and zero upfront financial cost. But once that book is live on the marketplace, it becomes a digital employee. People can purchase your book at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday while you are asleep, and Amazon will automatically print the book, ship it to the customer, and deposit a royalty check directly into your bank account every single month for the rest of your life. The exact same framework applies to creating digital online courses, designing digital templates, or licensing photography. You do the work once, you get paid forever. If you don't want to invest your time creating content, you can pivot to the second major arena of passive income: acquiring cash-flowing physical assets, specifically through real estate investing. Real estate is the legendary time-tested asset class that has manufactured more millionaires than almost any other industry in U.S. history. When you save up your golden number surplus to purchase a physical property, like a residential duplex or a small condominium, and rent it out to tenants, you create a beautiful financial engine. Every month, your tenants send you a rent check. You use that cash to pay down the mortgage, cover property taxes, and set aside funds for future maintenance. Whatever profit is left over after satisfying those obligations is pure cash flow that lands straight in your pocket. Furthermore, you can make real estate completely passive by hiring a professional property management company. For a small fee, usually around 8% to 10% of the monthly rent, a property manager will handle all the late-night tenant phone calls, coordinate repairs, market the property, and screen new applicants. You transform a demanding second job into a clean, hands-off asset. Let's look at a quick story to see how the momentum of passive income completely transforms a life timeline. Meet Brian, an IT manager in Columbus, Ohio. Brian decided he wanted to escape the corporate grind before turning 35. He didn't have a massive inheritance, so he decided to deploy a hybrid strategy. First, he spent his weekends creating an online masterclass that taught basic coding skills to beginners. Within a year, that course was generating a consistent, highly predictable $1,000 a month in automated royalties. Brian didn't spend a single dollar of that new income. Instead, he stacked it alongside his standard golden number surplus to quickly save up a down payment for a local residential rental property. 2 years later, he owned 2 cash-flowing duplexes that generated an additional $1,500 a month in net cash flow. Combined with his online course royalties, Brian's total passive income reached $2,500 a month, matching his baseline living costs perfectly. At just 32 years old, Brian hit his magic figure and bought back total custody of his life. If real estate or content creation feels too daunting to start with, you can always rely on the cleanest, most accessible form of capital-driven passive income: dividend-paying stocks and index funds. As we discussed in Step 6, when you purchase shares of established, highly stable blue-chip corporations or specialized dividend-focused index funds, these entities literally distribute a portion of their corporate profits directly back to their shareholders every single quarter. You don't have to manage any tenants, you don't have to write any book chapters, and you don't have to handle any customer service emails. You simply park your growing wealth in the market, and the largest corporations in the world send you cash deposits just for existing. While it takes a significant amount of capital to completely live off stock dividends alone, watching your investment portfolio generate tangible cash flow that you can instantly reinvest creates an unstoppable compound effect that dramatically accelerates your timeline to freedom. Ultimately, mastering Step 7 is about realizing that your time is the most valuable, non-renewable resource you possess. Once a day of your life is spent, it is gone forever. You can never earn it back. True financial success isn't about accumulating a massive mountain of cash just to impress people or look rich. It's about decoupling your survival from your daily hours of labor. When you systematically apply all 7 steps of this roadmap: healing your mindset, tracking your expenses, optimizing your golden number, securing your emergency buckets, crushing your debts, leveraging your credit passport, and investing in cash-flowing passive assets, you are methodically building a self-sustaining freedom machine. You are transitioning from an employee trading time for money into a sovereign owner of your destiny. The roadmap is completely clear, the steps are thoroughly defined, and the numbers never lie. The only variable left in the equation is your willingness to take bold, immediate action. Stop letting finance scare you, step into your power, and go get your financial life together. Conclusion. So, after everything we've just unpacked, I have one final question for you. Who are you going to be tomorrow morning when you open your eyes? Are you going to be the person who continues to look at their bank account with a racing heartbeat and a sense of deep, heavy dread? Or are you going to be the person who finally steps into the driver's seat of their own financial destiny? Because let's be completely honest with each other right now. Inspiration is completely worthless without execution. You can listen to financial advice all day long, memorize every single step of this roadmap, and nod along with every concept we've discussed. But knowledge alone will not pay off your credit cards. It will not build your emergency fortress, and it definitely will not buy back your ultimate freedom. Action is the only bridge that connects the life you currently have with the dream life you desperately want to build. Think about how far your mindset has already shifted over the course of this journey. You started out feeling completely overwhelmed by the chaotic, jargon-filled monster of personal finance, believing the giant lie that wealth is a restricted club reserved only for Wall Street geniuses or people who live a life of miserable deprivation. But now you see the game for what it truly is. You realize that getting your financial life together isn't about punishment or math. It is the ultimate radical form of self-care and self-preservation. It's about building an intentional system that honors your hard work and maximizes your margin. Wealth isn't a random stroke of luck. It is a series of small, consistent daily choices that compound over time into massive structural leverage. The most empowering part of this entire blueprint is realizing that you don't need $1 million sitting in your account to claim your power, and you don't have to wait until you are 70 years old to finally own your time. You have the exact tools, the strategies, and the intelligence required to reshape your entire reality. The old excuses have officially evaporated. Now the choice is entirely yours. You don't have to get it perfect right out of the gate. You just have to start. Take a deep breath, release the guilt of past financial mistakes, and make your move. If this audiobook opened your eyes and gave you the confidence to take control, please hit that like button, share this with a friend who needs a financial wake-up call, and subscribe so you never miss another deep dive into self-mastery. Right now, before you click away, leave a comment below, sharing the one single lesson that resonated with you the most today. Let's build a community of action takers who refuse to settle for the status quo. Don't wait for the perfect moment or a better season. Take action today, log into your accounts, and start building your empire right now.